Welcome to Armchair Expert.
You sound like a miniature mouse.
I am miniature mouse today.
Oh my gosh, body swap?
Yeah, and I'm talking...
Dax Shepard.
Oh, wow. You're full of yourself, it seems. We had the funnest conversation with Sara Bareilles. I loved her as a musician.
I'm in love with her as a musician.
And in love with her as a songwriter. And then just got completely bowled over with who she is.
Her personality, she's awesome.
I know. We really want to hang out with her.
Yeah.
You're really going to want to hang out with her, too. Sara Bareilles is a Grammy Award-winning and Tony and Emmy Award-nominated singer, songwriter, actress, and author. She was in Jesus Christ Superstar with John Legend, and she also wrote all the music for the hit Broadway musical Waitress, and she's had a bevy of wonderful albums: Careful Confessions, Little Voice, Kaleidoscope Heart, The Blessed Unrest, What's Inside, Amidst the Chaos. And she has a new album out right now called More Love, Songs from Little Voice Season 1. You should check that out. She couldn't be a better songwriter. So please enjoy Sara Bareilles.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
Can you hear us? Oh, yay! Oh my God, is that embarrassing? We were half plugged in, like we could get your audio, but the part, for whatever reason, that turned off the mic, needed to go in another 1/8 of an inch.
No worries. Most things need to go in another 1/8 of an inch. You really think about it.
I don't know. In 6 months, we've done
a lot.
I don't know, 80 of these, and then we can't figure out how to talk to you. It's really shameful.
No, there's nothing shameful about it. I just peed with my earpods on, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm just peeing into this microphone. I haven't quite. You know what? It's 2020 is a beast.
Can I tell you the funniest story along that way? A good friend of mine joined a Zoom AA meeting. It was morning, it was really early, so he's making his coffee and everything, and he thinks his video's off and his audio's off. He starts coughing pretty bad. He's a smoker, right? He goes, Dax, I am making noises, right? I'm like, like really trying to get it. And then right at this moment where he is like, oh my God, I almost got it. He's like, I gotta go to the bathroom this second. Takes the fucking computer into the bathroom, has a full explosion, and starts hearing people laughing from the Zoom AA meeting and realizes the entire thing has been heard by everyone.
Oh my God. If they weren't close then, they are now.
Needless to say, he has not returned to that AA Zoom meeting. How are you doing? Are you in New York?
I'm in New York. I think, for all intents and purposes, I'm doing okay at the moment. It's a real moment to moment this year. That's been my experience of it. I'm kind of even, within a day, I'm very prone to the peaks and valleys, and it's been obviously an emotional year. So right now I'm fine.
Yeah. Minute to minute.
Yeah.
Monica and I were talking last night about how you have your normal life, you have your normal challenges and struggles that everyone has, but I think we keep forgetting that it's happening within also this context of crazy uncertainty, but you're not aware of it. And then your other problems just are taking this shape that are so profound. And you're like, wow, I normally handle this. And then you got to keep reminding yourself oh, this is very atypical and it's very stressful.
Yeah, completely. And I've found that I think because of the severity of everything, all of the real issues that are going on, it starts to feel does any of this other shit matter?
Mm-hmm.
Does anything matter other than literally life and death and this election? That's the only thing I care about.
It's true. But there's half the country's on fire. There's the global pandemic. There's an election, seconds away. It's a lot. It is a lot.
Too much.
Too much. Some would argue too much.
Some would argue too much, and I would agree.
Well, let's start with the fact that you wrote a song that my wife then sang that is by far my favorite thing she's ever sang. I can't tell you how often I forced her to put on Superhero. Oh my God, is it good?
Love it.
Oh my God. And the girls sing it, and it's such a goosebump maker. And it's on Central Park, the cartoon. How'd you end up working on that?
I think it came through Josh Gad. I think he reached out, and also Lauren, because so my friend Kelvin Yu works on Bob's Burgers with Lauren. And so Lauren and Josh both reached out, asked if I was interested in writing for this. And animation is like the big bucket list for me. So this was dream come true. And then getting to write something for Kristen to sing was just like, come on, get out of here. And it's such a sweet scene, and that character is so delicious. And then just getting to be really playful and imaginative and trying to imbue humor and kind of the awkwardness of her age. And
yeah,
I had a lot of fun, and they were so collaborative. It was a really fun, easy kind of back and forth. It was awesome.
You two creatively kind of share some connective tissue in that there's like acuteness and awkwardness, and then yet there's also the perfection of some section of the song. There's like that's what Kristen does so well, say in Frozen or something, where she can be bumbling and insecure at a moment and then really brave and all these things. And I think you creatively are kind of similar. I don't know. That's my assessment of you.
Yeah. I think that it feels really honest, like that sort of version of how the people that I tend to, I guess, gravitate towards are the people that kind of approach life that way. Like, I'm so not cool and collected. So like, you know what I mean? Like, so the people that kind of move through honestly, that feels more honest to me. It's because we're all kind of like a little bit of a mess and trying to hide it most of the time.
Yeah. Collecting secrets along the way.
Yeah, exactly.
You're from Eureka, which is an intriguing place for me to think that you're from. Simply that we drive through there often on our way to Oregon. We've stayed there.
Where did you stay? I'm so curious. Do you remember?
Where did we stay in Eureka?
Like in the actual city, or did you camp, or was it? Did you stay in a hotel?
No. I want to say that we got some coastal. I can't remember. Yeah. But we've been through there a few times, and I'm kind of obsessed with Humboldt County in general. And what is it called? The like Emerald Triangle?
Oh, is that what it's called? It could be. There's a lot of weed there.
Yeah, but the weed I could care less about. But there's also like crime, and there's like people disappear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was that documentary, like Murder Mountain or something like that.
Yeah. Did you watch it?
No, I didn't see it actually, which I should totally watch it. But which I think is kind of hilarious because I've never heard anybody refer to anything as Murder Mountain. Like they made it seem like, we all talk about Murder Mountain. I was like, I don't know if that's actually accurate. No, I should watch it.
You're destroying my fantasy
of Murder Mountain.
Your fantasy is like, are there a lot of meth heads everywhere? It's very working class. It's this really interesting mixture of super crunchy granola, progressive, liberal mindedness, and very conservative redneck,
People trying to live off the grid and stuff.
Yeah, some of that. And then a lot of country music, a lot of oddly, like a little bit of Southern accent sometimes. We're not that close to there. I have such a fondness for the place, but it's a really unique place, which I think is why, I love telling people, like, go explore. It's like a beloved and weird place.
My main memory is like driving through the town on our last trip there, looking up healthy restaurants for my wife, clearly not for me, and there being like 13 great options for organic food. And like you say, logging trucks passing you and all this conflicting stuff like dudes in lumberjack wardrobe and then all these healthy restaurants. It's really unique.
Yeah, it's got a really cute little downtown. It's like an area that used to have really robust industry, logging and fishing being the main ones, which is why the community sort of built up. And then a lot of those jobs went away. So it hasn't really figured out what's next in terms of like how to sustain economically. So unfortunately, there's a lot of homelessness. There's a lot of people just kind of making it work.
Okay, now your mother worked at a funeral parlor, which is just fantastic. Wow. I got a few questions about that. What role did she have there? I guess let's start there.
So she worked, and this is sort of brief. It wasn't like 6 feet under where like I went down and saw the dead bodies. You know what I mean?
All right.
Bummer.
No, but, all right. Rats, but okay.
moving fast. She did like intake. So, families would come in and she would work with them on designing the service essentially. Yeah. And she really loved it for a while. It was a hard job for obvious reasons, but I think it made her feel like she could really offer support in a really difficult time to people, and she's really good at that. So she liked it. And then I think actually it went corporate and they started getting pressure to upsell, like get the grieving family to buy the really nice coffin. And she's like, I don't like this anymore.
I've always like been really perplexed by, of course it's a business and of course they sell products, but it is a weird time to be like really strong
Taking
selling.
advantage of somebody.
I know also
Right.
like the amount you spend on this coffin is going to be a real representation of how much you valued this person.
Totally. Like, but he doesn't need a cup holder. It's like down in the ground.
Cup holder. I don't think he needs the iPad attachment. I don't think he's gonna watch him anymore. Shows. You should have heard how savage I was when my father died. I was dealing with it over the phone. It had happened in Michigan, and so I'm calling around, and I'm like, I just need a cremation. Okay, well, we can cremate him in this box or that box. And I'm like, put him in a plywood box. I don't mean to be rude, but what are we talking about? You're going to throw this thing in the fucking oven. Why would I buy something nice? Is there a cardboard option?
We won't burn plastic because that's not going to go well for the environment. But yeah,
Right.
totally. I'm with you. Honestly, I'm with you.
Okay, now, at what age would you say you start getting interested? I know obviously you did musicals in high school, but does it predate that, or is high school your kind of introduction to when you start singing and performing?
I started singing and performing maybe a little earlier than that. I did some community theater probably when I was around 12, but I started playing piano when I was really young, like 6. And I took lessons for a little while and I didn't like it. I didn't like when they were like, do something different with your right hand than your left hand. And I was like, this is hard. Bye. And so I didn't follow through in that sense, but I never fell out of love with the piano. So I did a lot of afternoons at the piano on my own, and then got involved in like choir and stuff in high school. But community theater was maybe my more introduction into performance, and I just loved it. I was a total ham. And I was an awkward kid, and I got made fun of at school. And so I felt like, you get all the weirdos to go to the theater community. And it's like this beautifully inclusive, wonderfully diverse group of people who like lift each other up. I'm like, this is the magic spot for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I really missed out on that.
I wish I would have done more of it when I got to college. I was a communications major in college. And
Oh, hold on. That's going to be the bulk of you and I because we were there at the same time, I just figured out.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, let's just put a pin because I really want to geek out on that. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Great.
Yeah, so community theater and then high school, I did, Little Shop of Horrors at high school, and that was like my peak existence. I was living for that production.
Yeah.
But seeing you now, I feel like it'd be hard to think that you got made fun of.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're a major babe.
Yeah.
Big surprise.
But
Okay.
what about just like awkwardness or?
Awkwardness. I was a chubby kid. I went to Catholic school, which is just a whole other separate, we can dive into that too. But yeah, I had like some mean kids in my class, and it was such a small class. And you just like, as I want to say, like maybe even, second or third grade, you kind of get your roles or your whatever the stereotypes about you, like they're just indelible and they didn't change. Each year would pass, and I'm like, I don't think I should be like called fat anymore. Like I'm like, I would have this like I would have this like crisis of identity where I'm like, I would feel good during the summer and I'd like work really hard. But anyway.
There was no upward migration out of your class strata?
No, until I changed schools. I went to public school in 8th grade and then it changed. But the body dysmorphia and all of the self-image issues, those are still intact. So thank you, St. Bernard. Thank you.
It's Catholic
Yeah.
school.
Did you have to battle to get into public school? Was that a hard fight? I assume you wanted to go to public school or no?
No, actually, I have a strong memory of a really good conversation with my mom. And by good, I mean she was like real tough love with me on this moment. I would come home crying from school all the time. And finally, she just was like, what do you want to do about this? You cannot come home crying from school every single day. Do you want to switch schools or not? And then finally decided to switch schools. And my best friend at the time, her name's Anna Massey, she switched schools too. And we like went to public school. And I was like, you get to choose what you wear every day? This is a dream come true. And
Yeah.
also very stressful.
My mom had the exact same experience. So Catholic school up to 8th grade, then went to high school, and she's like, oh my God, what is fashion? What are these shoes? And you pin your pants, and like just total panic of what everyone seemed to already have figured out.
Totally. I was bodysuits and flannels is really what I was prime in my like junior high school. It's a lot of like grunge, 90s grunge.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, this is very exciting because we started UCLA at the same time. Despite the fact that I'm 4 years older than you, we started both in 98. And what I love about the fact that you were a comm major is my main memory of the first few months at that school where every class they'd kind of ask you what your major was. And 80% of the class was always like, hopefully. Like it was and I was like, what? This many people want to be in comm? What's going on? And you made the cut. This is very exciting.
Yeah, but I was undeclared my first year. And then I knew communications was like this impacted major. And then once you finally got in, you realize it's like, oh, it's because all of the jocks, all of the sorority girls, everybody's in this thing. And then you get to the end of your years of studying it, you're like, I'm not totally sure I studied anything.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what we learned.
Well, that makes me so happy to hear because my first thought was just like, can you study communicating for 2 years? I mean, I had like a 1 comm class. You learn interpersonal, and intrapersonal. And isn't that a wrap on communication?
Right. I remember we had a couple of sociology classes that I really thought were interesting. But I think the reason I liked it is because it felt like it was just studying human behavior. So that's what I can tell you about it.
Yeah. Now, coming from Eureka, you were Catholic school, then public. That's a big leap. And then you leave Eureka and you come to UCLA. Did you want to go to UCLA just because it was in LA?
I didn't even want to go to UCLA. I was all set to go to San Francisco State. I think one of the things about growing up in a small town that I have learned about myself is that I tend to be very myopic about what's right in front of me. I'm not really like a big dreamer that way. I'm just like kind of do the thing right in front of me. And I had a lot of family in the Bay Area, so San Francisco felt very logical next step. And I had I almost said auditioned. I had auditioned for San Francisco State. I got into San Francisco State, and I actually was getting like a little vocal scholarship to go join the music program there. It was like $2,000 or something. And then I wasn't even going to apply to UC schools because I didn't come from money and they were expensive, and I didn't even want to put that burden on the family. And my sister gave me a check for $200, and she's like, use these $200, apply to some schools, some of the UC schools. And I got into UCLA, and never in a million years did I think I would even get in. And my English teacher at the time, Mrs. Salter, she pulled me aside. I had showed her the acceptance letter thinking like, oh, I'm not going to go here, but this is cool. I got into UCLA. And she's like, you may not go there. Like, you cannot get into UCLA and not go to UCLA. I won't allow it.
Wow.
And so I went to UCLA.
So your sister and your English teacher.
Yeah, just people telling me what to do. That's my whole life.
Okay, so now I want to just drill into one thought. When you first were like, fuck piano lessons, your explanation was, is just hard, which is a great one and I can relate to. But yet you seem to be open to like suggestion or trusting people. There's like a humility in the fact that you listen to your English teacher or that you listen to your sister.
Yeah, I still struggle with trusting my gut on things. And I struggle a little bit with answering that question that feels like it should be so simple. The question of what do you want? Like, what are you aiming at? What do you want for yourself? And sometimes I find that question to be impossible to answer. I can't possibly know. And so I tend to do what's in front of me because it's easier than like figuring out that very tragically difficult question.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I trusted them. Certainly my English teacher was a really close confidant of mine through school, and I loved her so much. And yeah, it was just serendipitous. And I accepted without going to see the campus. And then I got to orientation and was like, the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah.
Like what?
And Beverly Hills 90210.
Oh my God. I remember seeing the beaches of Los Angeles for the first time. And like, I grew up in NorCal. You dress like this to go to the beach.
Yeah, and it's a dark brown beach and the water's 49 degrees.
Cold. There's like sharks. You don't go in the water. You're just walking your dog or whatever. And then I go down and it's legit Baywatch down there. And I'm like, my mind is blown.
I too moved to LA, and I moved from a town similar to the one you've described, which is like, it was very blue collar, all automotive workers, very high hillbilly contingency, even though we were by Detroit. Dudes with accents, to your point, inexplicably.
Yeah. Crazy how that happens, huh?
Yeah, tons of violence, just fights every day. Everyone's violent. People are challenging each other at Burger King and everywhere else. And then, I moved to LA and I was like, this is incredibly different. And whatever thing that I had defined myself as cool is not working here. People don't want to hear any fight stories. I'm smoking on campus. No one smoked. Everyone smoked in Detroit. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm a fucking dirtbag here. I'm a complete dirtbag.
I remember feeling just like tragically inadequate because I didn't know what anyone was talking about. Like I got to school and it seemed like all the girls had these Kate Spade bags. I had never heard of it. I didn't even know what it was. And I'm like, why is that thing important? Like you cannot purchase something that is Gucci in Eureka where I go, it doesn't exist. So my whole understanding of the world was completely different. I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to care about this stuff, which is why I still fucking don't care about it. But like, it was mind blowing. And then I just felt like an alien.
Did you try to care? Like, was there a section of time where you were like, I guess this is how I'll assimilate, so I'll get the bag and I'll do it, and then ultimately just no? Or you were just like, no?
I did. I had a little bout of time where some of my dear friends still all joined the same sorority. So my freshman year, I made a close group of girlfriends, and they all rushed and joined the same sorority right when we got there freshman year. Now, I didn't join, and by the end of the year, I was like, these are all my friends. They're all in the same sorority. Like, am I a sorority girl? I didn't even really know what that means. And I went to a rush event. First of all, I felt so weird in the room. Like everyone was perfectly nice to me, but I like turned on this real like bushy tail, like sweet gal. I'm like, I just went through like the body snatchers thing. I don't even know what happened. And I walked out. I was like, well, I can't do that. That is just too crazy for me. But they were all super, super sweet to me and very inclusive. But I went through a period of time where I was looking for my home. And then I met my a cappella group. And that was like a real game changer for me where I started singing. It was like a little bit of a misfit, you know, like a coming together of misfits. And that's where I felt like I belonged way more than anywhere else.
Here's where you start racking up the victories. You win 2 spring sings at UCLA. Right? That's pretty awesome.
You've done your homework. This is what I love about this podcast. Y'all dive deep.
Well, let's be honest. I go through Wikipedia, and by the way, I find out 30% of it's wrong in every interview. So the fact that your mom worked at a funeral parlor, I was like, woo, past that hurdle. We just interviewed Keith Urban, and I was like, look, man, I just want to say I love people who paid their dues. And the fact that you performed every summer at a wave pool in Australia makes me like you. And he's like,
I didn't do that.
I've never performed at a wave pool. What are you talking about? I'm like, there was a water slide park. No, didn't you perform every summer? He's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. There's no water slide park. And I'm like, oh, that was the thing I thought was awesome.
That's such a specific
Yes.
and inaccurate thing. Like, what a specific dream to have for Keith Urban from whoever added that to Wikipedia. You know what I mean?
1,000%. And by the way, it wasn't even like there'd be an obvious incentive for the owner of the actual wave pool or water slide park to start that rumor, but they would add their name. But it just said it was like an indiscriminate, right?
Yeah.
Because she looked it up in the fact check. Yeah. Okay, so you become friends with the Maroon 5 guys. They're all LA guys, right?
Yeah. They were all LA guys, and a lot of them went to Brentwood together, high school or middle school.
Which is like 85 feet from UCLA.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It's, I don't know, 18 blocks.
Totally. Yeah, I met all of those guys through Spring Thing. So Spring Thing is like the talent show, the springtime talent show. We had Mr. Belding was the judge the first year. I know.
Oh, wow.
Who's that?
Mr. Belding from Saved by the Bell.
Dennis Haskins. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was a big
love
deal.
Saved by
He
the
was
Bell.
the judge.
So you're kind of getting a sense of how cool it is, right?
You're starting to pick up on what a high-level Vogue scene this was.
Okay.
Can I tell you, my level 1 of the Groundlings, there was a guy that had been on hundreds of episodes of Saved by the Bell in a very small role. I think he worked at the restaurant they all
Max?
hung out with. I don't want to further embarrass myself for forgetting who we're
hope
talking
it's
about. He was older than the guys.
Yes, probably Max.
Okay, and he was in the first level of the Groundlings, and he had a convertible Jaguar, and I was like, man, that's the shit right there.
TV,
Driving
man.
a convertible Jaguar to like level 1 Groundlings to learn improv. I was blown away. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the first place I put my money, but that's awesome. You have it. Pick.
Now, you're fine performing, or do you have anxiety? Like, I imagine the Spring Sing, because it's a competition, like, did you have nerves? I mean, it is interesting to do an art form that's competitive.
Totally. And that's what we do. We just take these cool things that people do and then we pit us against each other and we make it a contest. Yeah, I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating. I was like really, really jacked up with nerves. But the first year, my freshman year, I auditioned to perform and I was too nervous to audition as a solo act. So I auditioned as a duet with my friend and we didn't get in. So because I didn't get in, I joined the company, which is like their little sketch group. through my friend Barry, who is still a very good friend of mine. He was in that group, and he was the connector to all the Maroon 5 guys and stuff. So that's how I ended up meeting so many of my really close friends from my UCLA days, was from not getting into Springsteen as a performer.
Oh,
but then the second year, I dominated, and I beat Maroon 5, and it was awesome.
Wow.
Did you have a boyfriend at this period? Did you date a Bruin?
No, I did not date. Well, I made out with people because I was a drunk asshole, but I did not date at all in college. No.
What? I lost my breath asking that.
I wasn't that I didn't want to date. I just could not get anyone to pay attention to me.
I can relate.
Monica
Yeah.
can relate.
You didn't date in college either?
I barely date now for the same reason. But yes, no, I did not. And everyone was dating around me, and you feel like there's something wrong with you.
Yeah. And then people ask you questions like, why didn't you date?
Yes,
It's
exactly.
like people going, why haven't you hosted Saturday Night Live? And I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to.
I'm so glad you said that one, because I've been asked that a couple thousand times. And I'm like, well, not because I wouldn't kill to. I know that part of it.
And I'm like, shut up, Mom.
Okay, so you get out of college, and at that time, are you certain you'll stay in Los Angeles, or what are you thinking once you get out of college?
Yeah, so by the time I get out of college, I have started playing some little shows in and around town, a lot in Westwood, like at Westwood Brew Co., and I was doing a lot of just like local small shows, and had just started to build, a really loving and loyal fan base that was kind of UCLA based. I had started writing songs, and so Springsteen was definitely like a big pivot point for me, of getting a taste of what it felt like to sing in front of a big crowd was like so intoxicating.
Yeah.
So I knew I wanted more of that, and then it was just about writing more material and trying to get up the courage, I suppose, to really pursue it more seriously. But yeah, I knew I was sticking around LA. I also went to UCLA for 5 years. I didn't graduate in 4. So I did my junior year in Italy. And because I'm so intimidated to talk to professors, I didn't get any of my credits to transfer. So I basically took a year off, went to school for a year in Italy, in Italian, and then was too nervous to go into the offices to ask them to write the credits, the normal thing you're supposed to do if you go away to school. So it's as if my junior year didn't count.
You had a gap year within your
I had a gap
studies.
year in which I went to school.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
My first question is, do you have an explanation for it, or are you still wondering about it? As far as why you wouldn't have been able to muster up the confidence to do that?
I mean, it comes from the same place that makes me a little nervous to call to order pizza. It's that same part of me that's just anxious about having any kind of interaction with a stranger, which I've gotten over quite a bit. But yeah, it felt too complicated. It felt like doing my taxes or something.
Yeah,
it was just this is going to be too hard. There's too many forms to fill out. I'd rather just go to school for an entire other year.
It's like you're going, no, I don't want to use my second hand on the piano at a different rhythm, so I'm out.
Yeah, so I gave up.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Now, really quick about Italy, where were you? And did you speak Italian before you got there? I know you were Italian and you grew up Catholic.
Yeah, I was an Italian minor at UCLA, so I was comm major, Italian minor. So I had language class every day. And I lived in Bologna, which is northern central Italy.
Home of Ducati. I've been.
Yes, and pasta bolognese. The food is incredible. And I lived there for a year, or I guess it ends up being the 9 months of the school year or whatever, but it was amazing. And also, I would say one of the pivot points in my life, when I lived in Italy, I realized that songwriting was not just a passion or a side project, but it was actually a really important part of my identity. I had several nervous breakdowns while I was there. I feel like it's so important for everybody to feel foreign. It's so important to build empathy and compassion for how hard it is to be in a country that you're not from. And I was extremely homesick, but I stuck it out. And then I started really channeling my feelings through music. That was a big shift for me.
Bader-Meinhof, frequency illusion.
Ooh.
We literally were just talking about this 2 days ago because a friend of Monica's went out on her own to visit somewhere. And I was saying I once went to Italy and my friends didn't arrive through a series of drinking accidents. They didn't show up when they were supposed to. So I was just by myself just for 3 days in Venice. And on day 2, I was like, I am all alone on the planet. No one will care if I die. I can't speak to anybody. I mean, the level of loneliness I felt. And then I had brought a book, thank fucking God. And I read an entire book in 3 days because the pain of that loneliness, I was not expecting. I'm outgoing, blah, blah, blah. So to do a year of that, I have to imagine in retrospect, an incredible character moment just in life.
Oh, totally. I mean, it was amazing. And I look back and I did things that I'm like, what were you thinking? Like, oh my God. Like, you know, I had an American girl who was my roommate. And then we also lived with 3 other Italians. And you get 2 weeks of like, you can live here and then you have to figure it out. You have to find an apartment, figure out where your classes are. I mean, the whole thing was just like, I cannot believe I got on that plane. Like as an 18-year-old, what an idiot. But it was extraordinary and living there. And by the end, I really missed home. America is certainly fucked up, but I love it here. And I love being here, you know.
Okay. Did you take an Italian lover at any point?
Yes. I had a couple.
Oh,
Yes!
Yeah.
Oh, I was so scared you were going to say no.
I know. That would be real tragic because, you know, the Italian men are down to clown. So
and they are not afraid to chat up a gal, huh? However invisible you felt at UCLA, I have to imagine it was like a light switch where you're like, oh, every light is pointing at me, I think.
The beginning, you're just so like, oh my God, Bella, ciao Bella, oh my goodness. And then by the end of the year, I'm like, you motherfucker, why don't you shut your mouth? But you know, I did not ask you to comment on my appearance.
Yeah.
That's it culturally imbued in them that the men comment on the women, on their physicality incessantly to a point that I find to be really ugly and distracting and unhealthy. Now, I don't know if that's changed. This was a lot of years ago, but one of my professors in our final oral exam told me I gained weight while I was there. He's like, oh, so ingrasata un po', eh? I'm like, did you just tell me I got fatter this year?
Oh
like,
my God.
It was wild. It was wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know what sentence I want you to say in Italian, but I just really want you to say like Can you describe my looks? Objectify me, and I won't know. So be as harsh as you'd like to be. This will be great. And then for whatever Italian listeners, this will be really fun. And I'll never find out.
Non ricordo molto italiano, però posso dire che tu sei un uomo alto. I can't remember a lot of words, but that's some in a row.
I feel like one was tall.
Tall. Alto, right? Isn't that
That's
tall?
what I said.
Oh.
that was what I put 2 and 2 together.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm really good at
Wow.
it.
You speak Italian too.
I guess I do.
Ciao bello, ciao bello, ciao bello. I embarrassed Kristen so bad. We did a movie that shot for 2 weeks that we were both in, and we were in Rome. And I was infected with that place. And everywhere we went, I was Tourettically, if that's a word, like I have Tourette's. I do have OCD and some impulse control issues. Everywhere we went, I couldn't stop. Hey, I mean, just on fire to be in that city. And we would get in elevators and just under my breath, I'm like, and Kristen's like, you gotta fucking stop. People are, and I'm like, what are you talking about? If I saw a couple of Italian dudes in an elevator in Beverly Hills and they were like, I'd be like, yeah, man, welcome to the country. We never have agreed on that. But yeah, everywhere I went, hey, ciao bello. I loved it.
I mean, Italy is just the greatest, greatest. I took my boyfriend and I went to Venice together because he'd never been to Italy at all. And so I felt like you're going to see something quintessentially Italian. You know, Venice is extraordinary. And Rome is probably my favorite city. Besides New York City, it's probably my favorite city on the planet. I think it's unbelievable. I have this funny memory. When I was in college, I started singing with this little Italian jazz orchestra. It was part of like why I like reclaimed music. I met this guy who was like an expat American guy that was the conductor for this jazz orchestra. And then we started doing gigs together and we played a wedding and I was singing at the reception and they played that song from the band ABBA, The Winner Takes It All.
Yeah.
as the couple is coming down this hill on like a tractor. And I'm like, I have never seen anything like this. And do you understand the lyrics? Because that song is a really particular choice for a wedding.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's great. You return, you start performing locally, and then you put out your first album. Did you kind of self-produce and self-put out?
Actually, someone that my a cappella group had worked with, his name's Gabriel Mann, and he's a writer-composer. He actually did all the music for Modern Family, was what he's done for forever and ever now. Yeah, good friend, known him forever, and he produced my first record. We did like 5 songs. I kind of scraped together enough money to do a few songs together, and then put that out. And my buddies in Maroon 5 invited me to go on my first tour. And so we did the 2 weeks with them on the East Coast, and it was a game changer in just every way, shape, and form. I got a taste of what it felt like. You know, they took really good care of us because we're buddies, and I just had the time of my freaking life. And then I ended up working with their manager eventually.
Okay.
And so then I got a manager, and we kind of went the road of doing showcases, and I did tons and tons of showcases for labels and lawyers, and nobody wanted to touch me. Nobody knew what to do with me. They're like, yeah, you like have a nice voice, but what's up with all the headscarves? And like, I don't really get your thing on stage. And I have never been able to get over this tremendous sense of awkwardness that I have. And it's very present on stage. And now it's become more of like that's a real comfort zone for me. But I think people experiencing it for the first time, they're like, you swear a lot. And I don't know why you're talking about your period so much.
Yeah, when you get nervous, you just start like, just every thought just starts kind of coming out.
It's completely verbal diarrhea. Yeah. And I find that like my mind oddly just goes to like really obscure, like strange, like overshares. Cause I think it's going to like make people I don't even know why people would relax knowing about my menstrual cycle, but it's a fast fall.
Just hearing that you have one has put me at tremendous ease.
I like it. It's relatable. Half of us have them.
Well, half of us have it.
Yeah.
A little more than half.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. We don't like to go to the doctor, so us boys. So yeah, you guys end up outnumbering us. I think what seems a little bit interesting about your story, and I might have it wrong, but you did so much kind of, I don't want to say high level, but like big tours before, per se, your own album warranted that. Is that an accurate assessment?
I think I did a couple of good-sized tours, the Maroon 5 definitely being one of them, especially after I signed with my manager, because I didn't get a deal until quite a ways after that. But it was always a good philosophy of his that he really believes in grassroots, like tour. And that's why Maroon 5, that was how they built such a loyal, lifelong fan base. Is they spent so much time, still do spend so much time on the road. And it was a good skill to learn. But I played a lot of local shows, hundreds and hundreds of shows before getting a deal.
It's a bit like your Italian experience in that. So it's like you have this incredibly high connected feeling with thousands of people, and then you go back to your hotel room and you're kind of high from that, and then it's lonely. It's very light switchy. How did you navigate that part? Were there parts you liked, didn't like?
Yeah, and I still feel that way about it. I think that's why so many people get really unhealthy.
Yeah.
And drink too much or use too much or use it all or whatever it is, because the roller coaster.
It's a bipolar lifestyle. That's what I wanted to say. It's like, even if you're not mentally have anything, the actual experience is incredibly bipolar.
Totally. And it's really confusing to feel like, oh, I'm so valuable in this one space. But then everybody goes away. And the interesting thing that I've found is that as you grow in the public sphere, and I don't walk down the street and have I'm not famous like that, but in the times like on tour, people do sort of treat you a little differently too. And there's like this interesting sort of insulation that just builds around you, and it is extremely lonely. It's very isolating and confusing, and you start feeling like, I don't feel like normal here.
Well, it's almost like your insides are not matching your outsides at all, right? for me. And then there's these weird little potholes too that you don't anticipate. It's like you go on stage, it's this amazing experience between you and the crowd, and then you leave and there's a ton of people that have now waited for you. And so now you're in a much different dynamic where you're like, well, I want to give myself to these people. And also we're going on now 4 hours of us doing this. And now this could go on forever. And then there's guilt. Like eventually you got to get in the car and drive away. And that's just, it's like, oh, wait, I was on this high and now I feel kind of guilty. Again, it's just a lot of really heightened feelings all happening within 4 or 5 hours. And then you're back in a hotel and you don't even know what city you're in. And can you order food and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And I do think that the relationship to fans has changed so much, especially with social media. And there's like this sort of perceived intimacy that happens. And there are people that I do know their names because I see interactions happening all the time. But, back in the day, if you were giving a concert or doing a talk or doing something publicly, there wouldn't be an expectation of like the runoff of what happens beyond that. It's like you did your job by being on stage and showing up and giving 1,000%. But then beyond that, that isn't like required reading by anybody,
Well, and now this, I think we're very similar in that is that your songs are very emotional. Like Kristen just loves love songs. She not only does she love song, but she loves so much the story behind love
Your
song.
storytelling is so unbelievable. I'm such a huge fan. Armor is one of my favorite songs ever. I love it so much. And the way you weave language, it's incredible.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that.
So the things that you're singing about are connecting to people in this very emotional way. I have to imagine people are coming up to you and they're saying, after I heard your song, I left my husband, or you know what I'm saying? Like something really, really important in their life. Yeah. And then you're like, oh my God, this deserves all of my attention and my compassion and my presence.
Yeah.
And then you're just a human being as well, who's only got so much of that to give.
I think over the years, you start to insulate a little bit from that. I wrote this book of essays a handful of years ago at this point, and I did one little book tour. And so I sat, and I don't often do this like at shows. There's not a scenario where every person who wants to say hello can say hello, but I did that on the book tours. And it was quick and people moved through, but I was so struck by really what people wanted to share more than like, I love your music or thank you for whatever. They wanted to share their pain. And I was so struck by that. And I would just come home from these events and I would like cry because there isn't a way to hold it all. And I'm not even equipped. I think everybody should just have like 4 therapists at all times. I love that impulse in people, but certainly being on the receiving end it is heavy. It really is.
What tools have you employed to not go down the addict road or the self-destructive road? Because again, too, I think for me, so I on some level feel fraudulent often. Like I don't deserve this.
Yeah, that imposter syndrome. Everyone I know has it, especially, like, shockingly, every very successful person I know has it to some degree where they're just like, I don't know how I got here, and I don't think I deserve it.
I've only met a couple where I'm like, and I don't know this about him. I met Matthew McConaughey, and I'm like, man, this is the dude. He's feeling it. He was built for this, and it is great. Like, I just could feel this motherfucker was built for this. I'm like happy for him.
Yeah. He's like, this is about right. This is like kind of what I imagine.
Yeah. Get in my car. Yeah, let's go for a ride. And I love it. I think it's spectacular. Yeah. But I think a lot of us just feel like, well, I know I'm darker than you know I'm dark, or I know I'm not the thing.
I've been in therapy I still talk to my therapist once a week, and I have for 10 years, and meditation is a massive practice. I get dark. I haven't really gotten close to, I had some bad habits, I think, that were growing on tour. But also as a singer, I just physically couldn't abuse myself and then still sing. So that I think there was like a limitation that just lived in my world in a way, because I do love to drink, and I'm 40. That train kind of skipped me by, I think. But I think, a lot of self-reflection and meditation, and it has been the lifesavers for me.
Have you watched the Whitney Houston documentary, either of the two?
I don't know which one I've watched, but I saw it in the theaters.
Yeah, that was probably the Miramax one. The Showtime one I liked more. She was performing in these stadium tours. And as you know about Whitney Houston, she doesn't have one song that she can take off or recoup, right? Every song is like 100%.
Yeah.
And she is coked to the max. She's not sleeping. She's super skinny, and she's still going out there and doing it. Is I've never seen someone with a force of will juggling what she was juggling and also putting on the level of performance is like unimaginable and heartbreaking.
I know. God, that's what I remember about the one that I saw. I felt the same way when I watched the Amy Winehouse documentary where it's like, you're so angry at the people around them too, where you're like, you're using this person. You're using them to not prioritize their health is just, such a crime.
And, we have this thing hanging up in the studio when we're normally in the attic, and it's a cutout of me. It says, would you date Dax Shepard? And 78% say no in America, right? Like this was a poll that Us Weekly did. And, it's so embarrassing that I'm like, I'm just going to embrace this. So it hangs in our studio. But the other day, Monica and I were in there with some downtime. And the other side of that is Amy Winehouse. And it's a similar poll. And the poll is, do you like her style? And it's like 80% no, I hate her style. And I'm like, you're part of it. You're part of what killed her. Why the fuck are you evaluating? Why would you have a poll and take out a full page ad and fucking burn some human being about their... it really hit me like, there were a lot of things coming her way that you just have to feel bad about.
Yeah, totally. I mean, this industry is so toxic on so many levels, and to the celebrity of people eclipses their humanity so quickly, and then we buy into it. We start caring about all the wrong shit, and you're like, oh, this matters, but you realize, especially in a year like 2020, you're like, no, it doesn't. None of this shit matters.
I got too sad. I'm sorry I bring up Whitney.
But real quick, can I just really quick because you
go long. Go really long. Go long.
Love Song. There's a story behind that, right? Weren't you asked?
You're right. I'm assuming everyone just knows the story behind that. Will you tell us?
Can you just tell us briefly? I think it's so awesome.
So I think the story that kind of lives is not a total truth, but it got easier to stop fighting it.
Sure.
So the quick and dirty story is that the record label told me to write a love song, and this was me middle finger at the label saying, I'm not going to write you a love song. What kind of really happened, which is sort of less interesting, is that I just wasn't getting the green light to go into the studio. I had signed my deal. I was working with a producer, co-writer. I thought I had all the songs ready to go, and I was like, I don't know why they're not letting me start recording. But I understood they wwere waiting for a single. There wasn't really a lead single yet. And I was on my way to my little studio, which was a storage unit. It was literally the roll down metal box thing. And so I was working at a public storage in Marina Del Rey. And I was driving there and I was listening to the radio, and I caught myself trying to cop what was on the radio. And just I was like, oh, I could write something that kind of sounds like this. And then I was furious with myself. I was like, this is not fucking how I roll. And I got into the studio and I kind of just said a prayer. I was like, just please let me remember me, because I was the whole time I cried the day I signed my record deal. I was devastated. I was like, I sold out. I was always fearful that they were going to take something from me that I didn't want to give. They, the big capital T. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh shit, I fell for it. I started doing it, and the song just poured out. I wrote it really quickly, which doesn't happen very often. And it felt like this very spiritual moment, actually. I was like, I'm not going to write you the thing that I think you need. I have to do this for me. And I thought they'd hate it. I had no confidence in the song. I thought they were going to be mad at me. I thought that they were going to be like, how dare you?
Yeah, we get it. But motherfucker, I see
exactly.
You coming. Yeah.
The beauty is they didn't know it was about them. They were always like, yeah, cool, let's do this. And I'm like, okay.
It's the opposite of You're So Vain. You probably think the song is about you. They did not think the song was about them, and it was.
For a moment, yeah.
Now, in retrospect, when you were telling yourself, I didn't want to be a sellout, do you think now, from this vantage point, that what you really had a fear of is that you would get a big chance and you wouldn't deliver, and that the story you told yourself in your head was, I don't want to sell out? Or do you still feel the same way?
Yeah. So my contemporaries were, Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and Jessica Simpson and Katy Perry. And from even just from an aesthetic I didn't see myself in those women. And they were very, very, very successful. And
Yeah.
I think I was really fearful. And honestly, like my body image issues and my relationship to my body and my health and feeling fat and feeling ugly and like all of these things that are still so alive for me.
Yeah. You're overwhelmingly beautiful. Like this
You
whole
are.
interview, I'm like, you are so overwhelmingly beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
No,
Thank you.
truly.
Yeah.
My favorite thing
Thank
is when
you.
you turn to the left or right and I see the profile of your nose. It's my
Thank you.
favorite.
I had to learn to love my nose. I had to like choose to get on board with what God gave me. Like I had to decide that. I had people in interviews being like, "Don't ever get a nose job," and I'm like, "Don't fucking say
Oh
that
my
to me, you fucking
thank you.
British bitch!" Like I couldn't.
Well, by the way, Monica and I still hate ours. So
Yeah.
I'm 5 years ahead of you, and I still fucking would blow mine up with a nuke if I could. If I could.
You have to like decide at some point, like, am I going to be on my team or not? And like, I want to be on my team.
We had this hypnotist on, and as goofy as it sounds, this guy said the most brilliant thing to Monica, which is so true, is like we underestimate the value of uniqueness. We really do. We don't ever think we're the only person that looks like this.
Yeah.
And just being the only person that looks like this is intriguing and attractive and interesting to anyone who
Special.
likes you.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's really hard because everyone looks pretty similar on television. So
Yeah.
it appears that there's an accepted aesthetic. But then if you really analyze your life, that's not how your circle works.
No. And the people that I find the most intriguing and the most beautiful, there's so often like it's a quality that has absolutely nothing to do with their physical appearance. It's just,
Yeah.
people love confidence and curiosity and intellect.
Genuineness, authenticity. There's so
Yeah.
many attractive elements other than the golden rule proportion.
Yeah. But I think to your point, like I think that was a big part of what I was afraid of, is that there was going to be all this pressure to like become something different. And the truth is that there was all this pressure to become something different. And you just have to keep saying no.
Yeah.
Keep going like, no, I'm going to just wear the sneakers and I'm not going to wear the high heels and I'm going to just like not wear the sparkly tank top.
You also like had the experience at UCLA with the girls and the handbags. That's essentially the same thing. So you kind
Right.
of had practice being like, oh, I tried that for a second and that
Yeah.
really didn't feel good.
Yeah. It's why I'm so grateful I had such a painful experience in middle school and in elementary school, is because I know what it feels like to feel left out. And I don't ever want to be someone who makes somebody feel left out. I'm not here to like represent the fucking popular kids. Like they're fine. They're fine. They don't need me. Like who might need me is the person who feels like they're not enough. And I want to just keep telling them that they are.
Okay. We're going to fast forward a little bit, but after Little Voice, you get nominated for 2 Grammys. It goes to number 4. It's very, very successful. And then is this part right of Wikipedia that you did experience a little writer's block after the first album?
Yeah, totally.
I immediately know that I personally would be like, oh my God, I might have got lucky. I don't know if I can replicate this. That would be my fear. What was your fear?
Same. Nobody, myself included, label included, no one thought that first record would be successful. Like it was kind of an accident. In fact, there's like this very shitty sort of story that happened behind the scenes where the president of my label bet my product manager. So I had two of these guys at the label that were like my homies. Like we were super tight. They took really good care of me. It was my product manager and then my A&R guy, the guy that signed me. So Pete and Scott, we worked super close together. And the president of the label at the time bet my product manager $50,000 worth of advertising money that I wouldn't sell a certain number of records that week. And like he was betting against me. And so what ended up happening is like,
For his own business.
I know. I'm like, you son of a bitch. And so then when the record became successful and we were all like going, I did not see that coming. And so I didn't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
The whole thing happened. I mean, it hadn't happened so quickly, but I guess that sort of leap to the next level, that did happen quickly, where I went from being sort of like touring locally and feeling pretty much in charge of myself to flying all over the world and singing, for strangers in different languages. That was all very new and sort of like discombobulating. So yeah, writer's block, definitely.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Now, how did you decide you wanted to get involved with Waitress?
So I had done 3 records, and I realized very quickly that the cycle of being a recording artist starts to feel really monotonous really quickly. And I started to feel, I think, a little claustrophobic about the idea that you write a record, you record it, you go tour, you come home, you take a break, you write a record, you record it. My life just started to really look cyclical that way, in a way that did not feel good to me at all. And I wasn't unhappy or uncomfortable, really. I have a cute little house in Venice, like boyfriend, friends, like I was fine, but I was like just not alive. So I'm a Sagittarius, and I always want to like know, well, what else? What else is out there? What else can I do? Like, what other coffee shop? Like, I love this one. I already know that I love this one. I'll come back to this one, but I wanted, like, is there another coffee shop? So I took a month, and I just did like a little Rumspringa in New York. And I came to New York for a month with my sister, and I played and I hung out and I did nothing but just like have an adventure. And during that time, I took a couple of meetings, and one was with Diane Paulus, who's the director of Waitress. And I had reached out to my theatrical agent saying, like, I'm kind of curious about, is there a theater project? I grew up on theater. I love theater, thinking that I would audition for something to go be in a show for a while. And I had a meeting with Diane, and she was lovely and really intelligent. But the opportunity was to be a composer for the show, which felt like beyond even, I would have never even considered that as a place to go.
That sounds very scary, especially for someone like you who I can tell is not going to force creativity. Like, you're going to wait for it.
And I didn't know what I was really saying yes to, but we had such a nice lunch, and I basically said, I hadn't seen the movie yet. I was like, let me watch the movie and let me see how it feels. And, we can agree to like, let's see what this is like. And if I suck at it, you'll let me know, and we'll like shake hands and move on. And I watched the movie, and I liked the movie a lot. I now fucking love the movie, but it was a slow burn for me. Yeah. So I watched the movie, and I think that was actually helpful, because I don't think if I had felt really intimidated by the movie, it may have hindered my ability to sort of feel like I had something to offer.
Yeah, like you weren't worthy of it.
Yeah. Now I feel like I'm not worthy of it, but I'm so grateful for like the role it's played in my life. But yeah, so what I wrote, and She Used to Be Mine was the first song that I wrote for the show. It was watching Carrie Russell and Jeremy Sisto in the kitchen in that scene, and she's just like so broken, and so is he. And that was like the first song that came out. And then it felt like that was, again, a very spiritual moment where it was like, there's a connective tissue here that I have to go towards.
Boy, you guys are kind of similar.
Her and Carrie?
Yeah, Carrie Russell. She's so down to earth, right? She's so blue collar.
Yeah.
Never met her.
Oh my God, you must.
She's very cool.
It's a little bit like looking at the sun. I don't know if I can.
How could you have not met her throughout this whole process? Buddies. She showed up to our attic with a 6-pack, and she's like, you mind if I kill a couple beers while we do this?
Awesome.
And we're like, fuck yeah, girl. Shockingly normal.
That's great.
So once you had success in that, and it ran up until this year, right?
Yeah.
Did Corona have anything to do with it going away, or it just was going away anyways?
Thankfully, our Broadway company, we had an official like closing date. Like, I look back on that, and it feels like such a gift to have been able to say goodbye to the show. I mean, it was heart-wrenching, but we had almost 4 years on Broadway, which was an extraordinary run beyond any of our wildest dreams.
And you got nominated for Tony.
Yeah,
right.
We had 4 Tony nominations for the show, and my score got nominated. Yeah. A little show called Hamilton also came out that year, so we were pretty fucked. But,
You're like Brian Wilson. You're like, cool album. What's it called? The White Album? Yeah, rough year to compete.
Totally. But it was, in a way, I feel like it was actually such a gift to the whole theater community, because it shined this massive spotlight. There was all of a sudden all this new interest in like what was happening on stage, and I think it revitalized the community in such a cool way. But yeah, I feel like my life falls into 2 categories. It's before Waitress and after Waitress. Everything about my life changed because of that show, and I'm like forever.
In what way? In that you have your foot in the door of a different avenue that isn't as taxing or repetitive? Is that what it is? Or
I think it has to do with at a time in my life where I needed to be reminded about sort of the vastness of creativity and that how rewarding it can be to work on something because you enjoy it versus like there's so many Broadway shows that are in development and have been for 10 years. Like there's no guarantee that anything's going to see the light of day, be successful in any way, shape, or form, monetarily, I'm speaking.
yeah.
But like, it's this giant gamble. And the beauty of theater, which I cannot say enough good things about, is that it's so deeply collaborative and there's like this many people paying attention.
Let me just say really quick, Sara just made her fingers
Tiny.
like the tiniest, like less than a quarter inch was her fingers.
For how many
people are
paying
interested.
attention.
Yeah. I just imagine someone at home is like, does she hold her hands completely apart? Like the whole world's paying attention, or
We're going to go ahead and make that the screenshot for the show. But the odds of coming into this medium and becoming rich and famous are just like,
yeah. Like the motive stays kind of pure. I watched Hamilton on Disney Plus. They're not a sponsor.
yes.
My first greedy thought was, these people work so much harder than I worked on television, and they make, I think, an eighth as much as what you would make on TV. And I text Josh Gad, like, what does the star of something make? And the response is just, you quickly realize, like, oh, these people are a lot purer than me. They are just doing it because they love it, and there's something great about it.
And it's so rewarding, but it is so fucking hard. They do 8 shows a week. They do two shows a day, twice a week. It's incredible, the perseverance and the dedication and the discipline. And then, what I also love about it is that it's not as competitive as it feels like in the music industry, at least to me, because the odds of you sort of like crossing paths with other people in your community, shows don't run forever. So you've been in a show with somebody, or you came up with somebody, or that was your lighting designer, and now they're working on this other thing. And it's a small community. And in that way, like the Tonys are by far the most fun award show I've ever been to.
Oh, really?
And I've been to the other ones now. So yeah.
I see it in Kristen, because she went to musical theater school. And yeah, these people have hung on to the feeling that they're the kids in your high school theater. Like whereas
Misfits.
Misfits. Whereas like the movie business and the television business is more star driven.
Yeah.
And it's more popular driven. It's more alpha driven. There's all these components, but yeah, it seems like even when these musical theater people get tons of recognition, they still just seem a lot more humble, I think, than other actors.
I think so too. I mean, there's still assholes, of course, but for the most part, per capita, there's less assholes per capita.
Yeah. And I just think you're really relying on people real time in such a way that you have great appreciation for them, because you're very aware of how everyone has to do it in that moment, or,
Yeah.
On a TV show, someone can show up like either still drunk or not show up or 4 hours late. And I can shoot my side and be like, well, I'm out of here, so I'm going to shoot my side. There's all these ways where you're not dependent so much on everyone else.
And there's something about like the imperfection of theater, because you have to do it every day and it's live and shit goes wrong all the time.
Yeah. There's
just like, it's not precious in the way that like maybe film or TV or music can feel, because there's nothing to capture perfectly. It's just, you do the best you can with what's showing up on that day.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to ask you about is, well, you wrote a book and I just want people to buy it. So sounds like me, my life so far in song. So everyone should pause right now and buy that book.
Pause and buy that book. You'll be done with it in about a half an hour.
Okay, great. Pause it, buy it, read it, and then, okay. So everybody, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the book. It's a great one. Now, you did Jesus Christ Superstar with John Legend. That seems, having met you now, like a huge swing for you.
Yeah. First of all, getting offered it at all was like, are you sure? Are you sure? But thankfully, I was in Waitress at the time. So I guess my like stage muscles were kind of primed at the moment.
Yeah.
And it could not have been a lovelier group, from every person on the creative team to every person on stage. It was so much fun. It was so much fun. And John and Brandon Victor Dixon, by the way, playing Judas. I mean, these are heavy, heavy roles. and they just carried them so lightly. So I felt like, well, Mary Maggs doesn't get to have a panic attack when you have one song, or you have like two songs. You got to just relax and just sing it.
Yeah, like you can draft on maybe John Legend's confidence.
Yeah, which
bit,
I
right?
absolutely did.
Yeah,
Totally.
like I'm just going to step behind you and let you suck me through this.
Yep.
Fuck it. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so you have a new album coming out, or a record, or an LP, or a piece of vinyl.
I have an album that just came out, and it's called More Love, and it's songs from Little Voice season 1. So I executive produced and created a television show with J.J. Abrams and Jesse Nelson, my partner on Waitress. And it's about a young songwriter in New York City, and I wrote all the original music, and it's sort of loosely inspired by my life, except her life is way cooler than mine was. And yeah, so that whole season, that first season, is out on Apple TV Plus, and it's binge worthy at this point.
And so the album is the music from the first season of Little Voice?
Exactly. We did a cast album, kind of similarly to how we did Waitress, where there's a cast album, and then I did my version of the songs as well. So some of these songs were written when I was Bess's age. In fact, so my first record was called Little Voice that we talked about, that has Love Song on it. And I had a dream when I was 24 or 25 about writing this song. I was like, this is the song that's going to capture me right now. It's really important. And then I tried to put it on the record, and they were like, it's not good enough. And so it didn't end up on the record, but I was so attached to the song, I wanted to name the record Little Voice. So we did. And then all these years, 15 years later or whatever, it's now that same song, unchanged, is the theme song for the show, and sort of like the little seed of the...
Oh.
That's awesome.
It's like the thesis statement for the show, you know. So yeah, it's a beautiful show. It's really heart forward and hopeful, and strangely nostalgic about New York, because we shot it, you know, pre-coronavirus. So it's uncynical and very heart forward. And so it felt really good to put that out this year in a time which is just a dumpster fire of hell.
Yeah. Now, here's my question. I've thought early on, now this has evolved for me, but early on I was like, I want coronavirus. I want to get it over with. And then I want to feel like I have a superpower, and I want to like go everywhere because no one's going anywhere. Like I thought, you had it, right?
Yeah, I had it super, super mild, thankfully.
Okay.
But I must say, I do feel a little bit like a superhero, even though I'm sure you can totally, I mean, there's evidence or reports of people getting it again. But yeah, I had it, and I had the antibodies, so I feel fairly safe. So I'm just licking the subway poles at this point.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I do wonder when we get to a point where it's like, you know, there's so many people that have had it. I don't know what percentage that would be, but like, I don't know. Would you be allowed to walk around without a mask?
I don't think yet. I don't think we're at that stage yet. I wouldn't, just because I think the anti-maskers are just out of their minds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just mean like there would be no reason for you to, I don't think. Would
Well,
there?
yeah, but you can get it again. I don't know
You
how
can get it again.
long.
And I think just at the off chance that, I mean, I know it seems like we know everything about the virus and we're really organized and like we have our shit together. But on the off chance that we've missed something,
On the
I
slight
think,
off chance.
The low percentage chance.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be safe, on the safe side.
All right. So Little Voice, you've just read Sounds Like Me. And now you're going to go listen to Little Voice.
And watch the show.
And watch the
Binge
show.
the show. Welcome back. Is there a recording of you singing Superhero?
I have a demo. I have an early demo.
We'd
Let's
like
see if I can
it.
find it. Let's see if I can find it.
Oh my gosh.
Living in a made-up world where I fit. I know I can dominate more than two-dimensional space. Did I just break that? I'm sorry. If I had my way, I could surprise them. I'd flip the script and say, everybody else.
Anyway, you get it.
Oh, no.
We
I want to
love
hear,
it. We
please
want the
give
whole
me.
thing.
Watch me anywhere that I want to go.
So good.
Oh my God. It's the best song ever written.
It is. It's
Oh
incredible.
my God. It gives me such fucking goosebumps.
It's so good.
Combining that amazing song with also every time I see my wife sing, I start crying. It's like it's lights out every time that thing comes on. It's
I
so
love
great. And to hear my
that.
little girls running around the house singing it, it is so great. What a beautiful song.
Thank you.
Sarah, you're so wonderful. I know this, we've been trying to do this for a long time, and I'm glad that you hung in there with us and that we got to do it.
Thank you so much.
We want to meet you in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hang out. Let's hang out.
Let's hang
do
you
it.
in Canada. We'll hang you.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun, and I'm such a fan.
Go Bruins.
Yeah.
Bye.
And now my favorite part of the show, the fact check with my soulmate, Monica Padman.
My favorite.
I cannot stop listening
It's
to
the
this
best.
song.
I know.
Let it begin, let Adam in. Step one, original
Oh.
sin. Underneath the leaves.
I was jogging yesterday, listening to this on repeat,
Yeah, that's
And I
my
was
MO too.
dancing on the treadmill.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God, you should have seen it. And then Lincoln came down and she was just dancing in front of the mirror and we were both just dancing our asses off.
Oh, that's so nice. I love it. The lyrics are so
Oh,
perfect.
You know, I have a really hard time hearing lyrics.
Uh-huh. Me too.
You too. And
Yeah.
I've been so selfishly delighted you have that problem too, because
Yes.
I live with three ladies who can hear this, 2 times they hear it. So I bet I listened to it on the treadmill 14 times in a row. And I'd already listened to it about 10 in the early part of the morning. And I just now heard the Eve part of it.
Oh, yeah.
How the hell did Eve get all the damn blame?
Mhm.
And I was like, oh God.
It's so good. I love that you love it because,
It's a female anthem.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a real feminist anthem. I love it.
Absolutely.
But men are feminists.
I posted the video of me shaving my head to
Yes.
it. And as I said in that post, like, I'm genuinely grateful that she gave my daughters an anthem
Yeah.
and that she gave you an anthem
I
and that she
know.
gave Kristen an anthem. And it's just so awesome.
So powerful. I mean, I told her that I was a fan.
Yeah.
But I kept it kind of cool.
Sure.
Because I'm a huge fan.
The biggest?
Yeah,
the
smallest, biggest. As I said to her, her songwriting's impeccable.
And fun and like not conventional and not boring in any way.
No.
And it goes different places. And yeah.
And there's always like at least one line that's pretty profound.
Mhm.
But also just her voice is so unbelievable. The way she hits like 40 notes in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, some people I can sing along to and I can pretty much match.
Yep.
But she is almost impossible because she's so like each
She's
note's
bouncing around so much.
specific and new and I love her.
I love her too. When I got home, I asked Kristen if she had the version of Superhero from her, and she did.
Yeah.
And when I realized, interestingly, because I think she wrote it for Kristen's voice and not her own, the chorus, I like Kristen's chorus,
Uh-huh.
but on the track, she has to sing Titus's part too. And when she sings Titus's part, I'm like, oh, she got fucking nasty. Like she can get nasty too.
Yeah.
You know how much I like dirty, nasty
You
music.
like nasty.
Yeah, like that down South Georgia fucking just, ooh, got somebody fucking 40 up in here. Ooh, it stinks. Mm.
Remember during the Hillary campaign, nasty woman was a big thing.
Yeah.
I had a lot of pins and stuff.
Said nasty woman.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny because both sides took their negative moniker and owned it.
Yeah.
Like the deplorables owned deplorables and then the left owned nasty woman.
Totally. That's what you got to do, I guess.
Mhm.
That's a ding, ding, ding feminist.
Oh, yeah. Ding, 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 ding. I do want to say, I have one political message I want to say.
Okay. Wow.
And it's to both people. It's to both sides.
Oh, okay. Then it's okay.
Yeah.
That's not really political.
But it is.
Okay.
It is. It's getting dangerous. That's what I want to say.
Oh, the divisiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's getting really, really dangerous. A lot of smart people I really respect are concerned.
Yeah.
And I'm not one to generally get fearful about this stuff, and then also watching The Social Dilemma.
Exactly.
Knowing that's ramping us up. And I just really beg everyone to just breathe a bit, detach your identity just a little bit, vote.
Yeah.
Go vote. We're in a democracy. Go vote. And also just unplug a little bit and remember way more than left or right. Everyone's a human here. So that's all I want to say.
Mm-hmm. There was a cool sweater I saw that said, "Humankind, be both."
I like that.
Yeah.
Did you buy it?
Should I buy it? It's like $400.
I'll buy it for you.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's a BTS behind the scenes.
Okay.
It's early for us.
Oh my God, it's so early.
And Monica's been pretty drowsy in the morning. So she's like, yeah, I'll leave the door open and, just whatever. I'm going to be hanging, just kind of fading in and out until you get here.
Yeah.
So I got here and I went in your bedroom and you were all fucking bundled up in your snuggles. And then I basically Karate Kidded you, right? Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah.
I started grabbing your feet and jostling your body around kind of radically.
It was an interesting way to wake up.
And then I was moving your legs like you were a baby who had gas. And then
luckily I didn't release any gas.
And then you got pretty fired up, right? So we've decided that perhaps I'm going to start waking Monica up with some light calisthenics. I imagine it's how they wake up Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
Like, don't you think that he's just that little baby sitting in his bed? He doesn't want to get up and be a dictator. And then they have to come in and like flap his arms and get the blood moving and stuff, move his head left and right, get a little blood flow.
God, it is so weird to think like he goes to bed at night in pajamas. And
I suspect he sleeps for like 14 hours a night.
He is small.
Well, he's got a rotund baby shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
wow.
not to diminish any of the
No.
atrocities happening on the human rights.
Not at all.
No.
Okay, Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah.
Okay.
Sarah B.
Okay, so Sarah's from Eureka. You said you stayed there, but you couldn't remember where. Thought it was some sort of coastal place. You still don't know, right?
The more I was talking to her, the restaurant part is definitely accurate. We might have stayed like on the coast, then drove into Eureka in the morning to head up to Oregon. And I think we've driven through Eureka and eaten there a few times. I don't actually know that we've stayed in a hotel there.
Don't you guys stay in like a specific hotel that you love?
No, like we spice it up every time. Like sometimes we've taken the coast. We'll make like 2 days of it and we'll go up through like Redwood City and then out onto the water and then up the Oregon, like Coos Bay, and then we'll come back. Sometimes we go up towards Napa Valley and stay at that really nice hotel, Calistoga Ranch, and then continue up. I'm a novelty addict, so I just want some new experience on the same 1,000-mile drive that we do often.
That's interesting. That's a little counterintuitive.
For me, because I want to get places so fast.
Well, no, I just mean you also like the
I'm
same.
a creature of habit.
Yeah.
It's very conflicting. You're right. It's like what I do is I want to go to all these places, but then I want to eat at the same restaurant I ate there last time. Like I want to go back to Enchantment so fucking bad.
Me too.
It's all I've been thinking about for 2 weeks.
So yeah, it's a hotel in Sedona that we went to when you were doing Top Gear.
And I want to eat that hamburger every single day we're there.
Me too.
I want to sit by the pool and eat that hamburger every day. That place is I cannot encourage people more than to go to Enchantment in Sedona.
And that's where we recorded with Rob Corddry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful Bobby. When he was back home in Boston, everyone calls him Bobby.
They do.
Yeah, so we had one episode of Top Gear where we were using heavy machinery. So I suggested we all had different names for that episode.
Oh.
And Rob was Bobby. And Jethro was Jet.
And what were you?
What was I? Fuck. I don't know. Something tough sounding.
Like Steve.
Dan. No, I don't know. I can't remember mine.
All right. Well,
but I do
watch
remember
the show.
Jet and Bobby. Bobby.
Okay, the Emerald Triangle. You thought that was connected somehow, and she didn't know what that was. So Emerald Triangle is in California, Northern California.
Yeah.
Named as such due to its being the largest cannabis producing region in the United States. The region includes 3 counties in an upside down triangular configuration.
Can I guess them?
Yeah.
Humboldt County.
Yep.
Cascade?
No. I'm really impressed you got Humboldt County. How do you know the counties in Northern California?
Humboldt's a very famous weed thing.
Oh.
Like, is this Humboldt green? Is this, okay, I'm just going to try one more. Okay. So, fuck. I don't know. Fuck.
Okay.
I thought I would have been guess one of them. Okay.
Well, I'm going to give you a hint for one.
Okay.
One is a restaurant we like.
Oh, wow. Not Stamp County. That's
no. Okay.
Okay.
Think like salad, sandwiches, but not Stamp. Like.
Oh, Jones?
No. They have a. Okay, I'm kind of giving it. Oh, they have a salad you really like that is of the Chinese variety.
Jones.
Oh shit. Okay.
That's where I like the Chinese chicken salad.
Yeah. Okay, I messed up. They have a curried couscous.
Oh, Mendocino County.
Yes.
I could have come up with that and I didn't.
I know.
And then there's going to be the northern one that has something to do with some mountains maybe or something. All right, what's the last one?
Trinity.
Would have never got it. I was way off.
Okay. Humboldt, Trinity, Mendocino. Should I look up what county Eureka's in?
It's in Humboldt.
It is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you were right. I feel like I should still check.
Okay. You should.
Humboldt County.
Humboldt County. It's a
Humble Pie County.
It's a Humboldt County.
Wow, good job. I can't believe you know that stuff.
It's not that impressive.
Yes,
like
it
a lot of people are
is.
gonna be listening going, everyone knows that.
No.
Okay.
No one knows it.
Anyways, that documentary Murder Mountain is terrifying. It's like ghost
I'm gonna watch
world.
that.
Yeah, it's creepy. People disappear there all the time.
Ugh. Okay, when talking about Maroon 5 guys were all from Brentwood, you said it was like 18 blocks from UCLA. It's 3.7 miles, 11
Or roughly
minutes.
18 blocks.
Okay. Is that
No,
real?
no.
Okay.
No.
How many blocks is a mile?
Oh, wow. Are blocks that standard? Because in New York, the ones that run north and south are way shorter than the ones that run east and west.
Oh, exactly.
You know?
Man, I miss New York.
Me too. Me too.
New
I was
York?
just encouraging, though, Kristen, to take a play, which I've always been against.
Oh, wow.
But after talking to Sarah, funny enough, I
Yeah.
was like, she is right. That's such a cool community.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so special.
Yeah.
And then just last night, I was like, you should try to find one in the summer. And then Monica and I will just go and we can record in New York.
Oh, my God.
Should we go
could
just-
live there
Yeah,
for
well-
the summer?
Yeah, for probably 4 months.
I've always wanted to live there. It's the only city, I guess, except Enchantment Hotel in Sedona, that I get a longing for.
Yeah.
I get
yeah.
pangs for it.
Yep, like a lover you haven't
Yeah.
seen. Yeah. I want to say one more thing about Enchantment. They are not a sponsor. I just want to be clear about that. It is not cheap,
No.
but compared to LA or California in general, it's about a third of what we would have to pay to have that hotel in California.
Right.
Like I just kept going like, this is the best bang for your buck I've spent in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have just the tastiest burger. Not as good as Emily's. I will say that on record.
It is not as good as Emily's. Nothing is as good as
Nothing.
Emily's, but by God, you're not expecting to get I think it's about the 4th best hamburger I've ever had, or maybe even the 3rd. And you're not
Yeah.
expecting that in the middle of Arizona.
Pool food.
Pool food.
Yeah.
But they had a caramelized brisket? Is that what they were describing that was
Yeah,
on
had
top?
some onion.
Crisp onions.
Crispy onions.
Man, what a meal.
I'm starving.
Let's go to Sedona for lunch.
Okay, you went to Groundlings with someone who you said was in Saved by the Bell, and I'm guessing it was Max. And I was just wondering if I said the name, if you'd know.
Hit me.
Ed Alonzo.
Yep. Absolutely. Ed Alonzo. In fact, I'm really sad I didn't remember that, but that was 25 years ago at this point,
Yeah.
but it was Ed Alonzo. And he was a very awesome dude.
That's so cool.
But I was just I was totally starstruck. I was like, how could I be in a class with that guy who's been on TV forever? It was very exciting. And again, he had that old, a 90s Jaguar XJ, convertible,
that's
the
cool.
12-cylinder. Yeah. Black on black on black.
Oh, really? Just
Yeah.
like your Pacifica.
Well, speaking of black on black on black, I have made a car purchase. Yeah, I got a Dodge Charger Hellcat wide body because I reviewed one on Top Gear, and it was, out of all the cars I reviewed, it was the one I thought was the most ridiculous.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you make car purchases,
Uh-huh.
do you ever have buyer's remorse?
I've never had buyer's remorse. But in honestly, let's see. I bought my pickup truck new in 2010. That's the first new car I ever bought in my life. And then in 2015, I got that Mercedes station wagon.
Yeah.
Now, I love that Mercedes station wagon so much that I don't want to rack up a bunch of miles on it. Like, that's a car I want to have the rest of my life as a
Right.
collector's car. So I got to stop driving it, basically.
Oh.
So this, I was like, I'm going to get this. I'm going to drive lease. I've never leased a car.
Oh.
So I'm leasing it for 3 years.
Oh.
And it's ideal.
That's cool. So we did mention about getting COVID twice, and just in this science magazine, scientists have found the first solid evidence that people can be reinfected with the virus that causes COVID-19. A new study shows a 33-year-old man who was treated at the hospital for a mild case in March harbored the virus again when he was tested at the Hong Kong airport after returning from Europe on August 15th, less than 5 months later. He had no symptoms this time. Researchers had sequenced the virus, SARS-CoV-2, from the first infection. They did so again after the patient's second diagnosis and found numerous differences between the two, bolstering the case that the patient had been infected a second time.
Ooh.
This case proves that at least some patients do not have lifelong immunity. So that's that.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
That's a real bummer.
Anyway, we love Sara.
That's the last fact that we have to say is that we love her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to say.
I can't believe someone said to her, "Don't get that nose fixed."
I know.
Ugh.
People
Puke.
are trying to, people have good
Yeah,
intentions,
they
but
do. They bumbled the execution.
I wish people would think just a little longer before they talk.
Yeah. Myself included. Well, I love you.
Love you.
And I want you to have a really good day. Are you going to hop back in that bed?
Probably.
Fantastic.
Bye.
See you in enchantment.